The Galactic Federation had protocols for everything. First contact procedures, trade agreements, diplomatic sanctions. They even had protocols for war, clean, civilized conflicts fought with predetermined rules and minimal casualties. They had no protocol for what Earth sent them. Commander Zixel of the Federation Defense Fleet had reviewed Earth's military dossier 3 times, convinced there had been a translation error. The planet was primitive by galactic standards. They'd only achieved faster-than-light travel 2 generations ago. Their weapons technology was crude. Their ships were slow. But the Krell Dominion was at their doorstep, and the Federation was desperate. The Krell had violated every treaty, every convention of civilized warfare. They took no prisoners. They offered no terms. They simply consumed world's population's resources. 17 Federation colonies had gone dark in the last solar cycle. The Federation's military doctrine, built on centuries of gentlemanly conflict, was utterly useless against an enemy that didn't follow the rules. So they called Earth. "I don't understand," Zixel said to the human liaison, a man named Dmitri who wore a neat uniform and spoke in calm, measured tones. "Your file says you're sending only 2,000 personnel. The Krell have 500,000 warriors on Telos 7. This is a massacre waiting to happen." Dmitri smiled, and something in that smile made Zixel's dorsal spines retract involuntarily. "Commander, you misunderstand. We're not sending soldiers to fight a battle. We're sending a message." The human transport ships arrived at Telos 7 without fanfare. No battle formations, no orbital bombardment. They simply dropped their cargo into the planet's war-torn surface and left. Zixel monitored from the flagship, expecting a slaughter. Instead, the Krell communications channels went silent within 3 hours. "Get me visual feeds," Zixel ordered. What appeared on the screens defied his understanding of warfare. The humans hadn't formed ranks or defensive positions. They'd scattered into the ruins of Telos 7 cities, moving through the shadows like they'd been born in them. They weren't engaging the Krell in honorable combat. They were hunting them. One feed showed a human female designated Maria Santos. She'd positioned herself in a collapsed building waiting. When a Krell patrol passed below, she didn't open fire. She waited until they were directly beneath her, then dropped down onto the lead warrior's back and drove a blade through its optical cluster. Before the others could react, she'd vanished back into the rubble. The Krell patrol didn't continue their route. They called for reinforcements and stayed put, watching the shadows with their weapons raised. They were afraid. "This is inefficient," Zixel's tactical officer observed. "Why not engage directly?" She had a clear shot. Dmitri, still present on the bridge, answered, "Because killing them isn't the objective. Making them fear what's in the dark. That's the objective." Another feed showed a human called Jackson Reeves who'd found a Krell forward operating base. He didn't attack it. Instead, he spent 6 hours picking off individual Krell. A sniper here, a patrol there, a communications officer. Never the same method twice. Never from the same position. By hour 7, the Krell had abandoned the base entirely, retreating to the false safety of larger numbers. "Your people fight without honor," Zixel said, disgust creeping into his voice. "Honor?" Dmitri turned to face him, and for the first time Zixel saw something cold flicker behind the human's civilized mask. "Commander, your protocols and honor codes are luxuries of species who never had to claw their way to the top of their food chains. Humans spent 200,000 years as prey animals. We learned that honor gets you eaten. Survival requires something else." "What?" "Creativity and violence." The tactical map told a story that shouldn't have been possible. 2,000 humans were systematically dismantling a Krell force 250 times their size. Not through superior firepower or technology, but through something the Krell had never encountered: psychological warfare. A human named Chen Wei had hacked into the Krell communication network and was broadcasting recordings of Krell death screams on all channels. Another, Samuel Okafor, had started leaving Krell, bodies in specific patterns messages. That meant nothing to the Federation, but apparently meant everything to the Krell. Their formations were collapsing not from casualties, but from terror. "This is madness," Zixel whispered, watching a feed where a human named Yuki Tanaka was systematically destroying a Krell supply depot. Not quickly with explosives, slowly, methodically, making sure the Krell garrison watched each supply cache burn while she remained just out of reach. When they finally organized an attack on her position, They found only a recorded message. "I'm already at your next base." She was. "Your species is sick," Zixal said to Dmitri. "This isn't war. This is torture." "Yes," Dmitri agreed simply, "and it's working." By day 4, the Krell were no longer attempting to hold territory. They were fortifying their landing zones, calling for extraction. The species that had terrorized the Federation for a year was trying to flee from an enemy a fraction of their size. On day 5, the Krell sent an official communication. Not to the Federation, to Earth. They surrendered. Zixal read the message 3 times, unable to process it. They're offering complete withdrawal from all Federation territories. They're agreeing to reparations. He paused, his translator struggling with the Krell terminology. They're asking Earth to make it stop. "Then it stops," Dmitri said, sending a brief command to the surface. The human forces withdrew to their extraction points within the hour. When Zixal reviewed the final casualty reports, he felt his circulatory system freeze. The humans had lost 37 personnel. The Krell had lost nearly 40,000. But the numbers weren't the disturbing part. The disturbing part was watching the human forces return to their ships. They weren't celebrating. They weren't battle-crazed. They were tired, professional, ready to go home. One human was reading a book. Another was showing pictures of his family to a teammate. They'd gone to war, become nightmares, and then just turned it off. "How?" Zixal asked Dmitri as the human prepared to leave. "How do your people carry that inside them?" Dmitri paused at the doorway. "Commander, every human you met today is also someone's child. Someone's parent. Someone who cries at sad movies and laughs at stupid jokes. We contain multitudes. The capacity for violence doesn't erase the capacity for love. It just makes us more protective of what we love. And when you need to become monsters, we don't become monsters, Commander. We just stop pretending we're not." Dmitri's expression softened slightly. "Your Federation built civilization on the assumption that everyone plays by the rules. That's beautiful. It's admirable. But when something threatens that civilization, you needed someone who remembers that rules are a recent invention. You needed someone who could return to the old ways. The ways of monsters. The ways of survivors." Dmitri extended his hand in the human gesture of farewell. "The Krell understand now. The galaxy will understand. Earth didn't send generals because generals think about victory. We sent hunters because hunters think about making sure the threat never comes back." After the humans departed, the Federation Council convened an emergency session. They debated for weeks about the ethics of what they'd witnessed, about whether they'd made a terrible mistake in involving Earth. But they never called them again to fight another war. They didn't have to. Word spread across the galaxy. Earth had defenders who didn't wear armor or carry energy weapons. They wore human faces and carried something far more dangerous: the genetic memory of a species that had survived by outlasting, outthinking, and when necessary, out-terrifying everything that ever threatened them. The Krell told their offspring about the demons from the Blue World. Other hostile species listened and reconsidered their expansionist plans. Peace, ironically, came not from the Federation's diplomacy, but from the galaxy's newfound fear of what humanity could become when threatened. Zixal kept one image from Telos 7 in his personal files. It showed a human soldier, face painted in urban camouflage, standing in the ruins of a Krell position. The human was looking directly at the camera, and in that moment before the feed cut out, Zixal had seen the truth. Behind the human face wasn't a monster. It was something older and more patient, something that had learned to wear civilization like clothing, but could shed it in a heartbeat when survival demanded it. Humanity hadn't evolved in a gentle universe. They'd earned their place at the top through 10,000 generations of refusing to die, and when you called them for help, they brought all that history with them. The Federation got exactly what they asked for. They just hadn't understood what they were asking for.